The Rich and Mike Show, Flagler County's hometown sports show. Here are your hosts, Rich Carroll and Mike Licio.
Yes, it's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Hello, Flagler County. And hello to you, Mike Licio.
Hello, Flagler County. It's a very special day and a very special Rich and Mike Sports Show.
Yeah, it's on a Tuesday, the Rich and Mike Sports Show, because, like Mike mentioned, it's a very special day because we have the brand new leader of the FPC Bulldogs, head football coach, Patrick Turner, with us here today. What's up, Patrick?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on the show.
Very exciting to have you here. And as Mike would put it, and I'll say like Mike said online there, welcome to Football County. This is Football County. I don't know if you see what we do here on WNZF, but we do broadcast the games on our Flagler Radio YouTube channel, also on the radio, 94.9 FM. And we'll have that coverage this year, your first year as the FPC head football coach. One of the first things for me, and congratulations, by the way, coming here to Football County, you were impressed with the school administrators, Coach Drabzik, the process they went into in hiring you. Just talk about FPC and the administration there.
Oh man, those guys are great. Yeah, Coach Drabzik has a great vision for the athletic program and where he wants to take it, and so does Mr. Bosserdette and the entire admin team. I mean, they've been great, and they want FPC to be an experience, to be one of the best experiences, and everybody that comes through there to have an all-American high school experience. And I think we share that vision. So when people play in our program, they're going to get to play at a high level. They're going to have the best facilities around that are going to get better, and have a vision to get them there. So I think it was a mutual thing between all of us and a shared like-mindedness. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Coach, how tough of a decision was it to leave Palaca? You got there 4 years ago, and that first year there was a lot of growth to be had. You know, I know the record doesn't really reflect the way the team was. I saw the team late in the year and could see how close that team was. And from that first year at 1-8, you were able to make the playoffs 3 years in a row, 7 wins. How hard was it to leave that behind?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. You've got a lot of relationships. Everybody in my family is plugged in there. Both my daughters are in school in Putnam County. My oldest daughter is with me at Palaca High School or senior high school. She's in 8th grade. My wife teaches over there. So, I mean, we're plugged into the community. We've got a lot of people that we've become lifelong friends with and we love. So, anytime you leave that, it's very hard. It's very hard for, the family and those decisions. But when you join something as good as the Flagler Palm Coast community, and so far everybody's just been so welcoming, it's really made that transition pretty easy. So we're looking forward to get over there full time.
So, Coach, Mike mentioned 3 straight years making the playoffs. You were with Palaca the last 4 years, but that 3 straight years making the playoffs, that's not something we're necessarily used to here in Football County. How do you bring that consistency from that program to this one?
Well, I think that word right there is the key. That's one of the things that the administration and leadership and Coach Drabzik is looking for at FPC. It's just the consistency. Actually, just got off the phone. You talk about consistency. Right before y'all got me on the radio, I was on the phone with Coach Allen, Steve Allen, and one of the best human beings there is and great coach there at FPC and long time who did it right, couple district championships and things like that. He's a good friend and friend of a friend and things like that. And I told him, if I could just be half as successful as him, we're on the right track. So just stability and consistency, you got to bring that. And the same thing in the community and with the coaches that you either have in place or bring on board. Those guys have got to get involved in the community as well. And I know there's a number of them already there that are standout people in the community. And I look forward to making relationships with them and having them on board.
You've been in similar situations before. You came to Menendez from the Carolinas, and Menendez hadn't had a lot of success. They were still a very young program. How are you able to change the culture there, and how do you plan to change the culture at FPC?
Well, I don't know that the culture needs to be changed a whole lot. Just provide, a roadmap and consistency. They've got everything in place. They've got great facilities. They've got great administration. They have all of the key components that you need. They've got athletes. They've got players. They've got great kids They've got great families. So, like I said, just providing a roadmap of how to do that and provide the consistency to get that done. There's been a lot of really good coaches, come through there, and all, have been, successful in their own right. And so for me, it's just building on the foundation that's already been established.
And looking at your career, you obviously have been a head football coach, but also an athletic director at Menendez. So you've seen both sides of that. Does that help you as a leader today to have been a head coach and also been an athletic director?
Absolutely. I think as you get older, more experienced, and in different positions, you see things through a different lens. Obviously, when you're younger and less experienced, it's all football, 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 scheme. What can you do? Whatever. The older you get and different positions you're in, you understand how to work together with, other coaches, other programs, other sports. And you learn things from them along the way that can also help your program. And I've coached other sports, and when you're an athletic director, you have an even wider lens, of how to run a booster club, how to run, successful programs, what things work, what things, need to be tweaked, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, how to hire good people. And it's all about the people that you hire. And I'm only as good as the people I work with. And everywhere I've been able to build a very, very good staff. And at Palac, I would put that staff up against any of them that I've ever worked with. They're great people. They're great men. And I'm sure that they got the same thing at Flagler Palm Coast. And I'm excited to work with those guys and bring some of that experience to the table and bring that consistency, so that we can have success year in and year out.
One thing you're going to find once you've gotten settled in is you're going to find there's a lot of support in the community. Obviously, you had a lot of that in Palaca as well. How does that help in the building of a program?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people in the community that have been there for a long time that have seen those changes and seen those ups and downs, and they're going to support you no matter what. And then there's people that obviously move in that are new, that want to give their sons or daughters, a great high school experience, and so they're going to support you while they're there. And it's just about building relationships. And you're absolutely right. Palaca is it's a special place as far as that goes. Everybody in that town and that community supports you and supports football, and they do a great job with all the other sports as well, and non-athletic teams. I mean, even with the state fair and people that are involved in that. My daughter shows animals in the fair, and everybody involved in FFA. It's just a very giving community, and I'm sure that the Palm Coast, the Bunnell, the Flagler Beach areas they're all the same. And it's just getting in there and creating those relationships and let them know that I'm working with their young people and their families, and hopefully we can get that up off the ground and going.
Speaking of relationship building, I believe today you had your first meeting with the players. How did that go?
Went excellent, man. They're already working hard, and there's some assistant coaches in there in place. The Jimmy Robinson brothers have been in the weight room with those boys and making them work hard, and other coaches, and of course they're involved in other sports. So it was good and refreshing to see when I showed up there today. That was no different. I spoke to them for a little bit, got their number and asked for them to give me 3 goals that they had, whether it be individual goals or team goals or whatever, something they want to accomplish. And then they went to work for the day of, whatever their workout was. And every single person in the class did it. And it was good to see. So we hit the ground running. And I told them, between now and my first day, that's the expectation, because they owe that to themselves. They owe that to their team and the community. Everybody that supports them is going to expect that when they show up on the first game.
You've coached a lot of talented kids. I know you had Kenny Logan, for example, at Dede Oxendine, who was very successful for you. Ty Edwards, who remains one of the best running backs in the 16 years I've been doing this here. How do you get the most out of those kind of players, those top elite talented players that as a coach?
You're absolutely right. Those guys are tremendous players, and there's a few others, that have come through there and, that were successful in their own right. Demario Douglas, I would add him on that list. King Benford, and, there's just guys that have come through the program, and I was able and blessed more than anything. Those guys impacted me, hopefully as much as I impacted them. But all those guys had one thing in common, and they would work extremely hard. And once they learn how to do that, and then learn how to be a great teammate, then that's the recipe for success. And those guys, they did it right. Some of them had a tougher road than others, and I know, I'm extremely proud of Ty Edwards. I talked to him. Actually, I talked about him today to the kids. One of the best stories ever. He was, ineligible, due to his GPA, and got eligible and worked extremely hard. Had to go to the junior college route. Went to Georgia Military Academy, and then to Hutchins Community College, where he was the National Player of the Year in JUCO. Won a national championship. And he called me. Actually, texted me on December 21st of last year, and he with his degree. He finished it. He graduated, and now he's at West Virginia working on his master's degree. What a success story! But because he understood, if I'm going to reach my goal of making it one day to the NFL or being D1, I've got to put in work. Nothing's going to be handed to me. And I think, when he comes back, not if, but when he comes back, he'll stand in front of whatever team I'm at, and he'll tell them that you got to work hard, you got to listen to your coaches, and you got to be a great teammate. And all those guys had that thing in common. And obviously, Day Day and Demario both, went on and won a state championship with Mandarin. They went on to bigger and better things because they learned how to be a great teammate. No matter where you are, just be a good teammate. And so there are talented guys at FPC. Met some of them today. I've watched, every game already from the season. I've watched, a lot of their highlights. And I'm so excited to work with these guys. And if they'll learn that right there, just put in work, trust the process, trust your coaches, and be a great teammate, then good things going to happen and you can achieve your goals a lot faster.
When you
And
talk about Ty Edwards, I know the story fairly well, and I don't think a lot of his success happens without the support that you and your staff at Menendez gave Ty. How important is it to have everybody rowing the boat in the same direction as a staff?
Yeah, no doubt, man. There was some guys that took out, like Alan DeVos, for one of them, was one that took Ty under his wing, and some other great coaches that all had an influence on him. But you're absolutely right. You can't have guys drilling holes in a boat when everybody's rowing. You're not getting anything accomplished. And you're right. It starts with the staff. And I told you before, I've been blessed to have such great staffs everywhere I've been, that they were just great men. And I feel sure that I can have that same thing at Flagler Palm Coast. And there's already guys there in the building, and a plethora of guys that have come through there that people just rave about, not just as coaches, but as people. And if they just keep that up and everybody has the same vision, that it's all about helping the kids, and that we're gonna accomplish whatever we set out to accomplish if we just stay together and do it, on the same page.
Principal Bosterdet is quoted in the Observer article about your hire as saying it was clear that you would prioritize the full student athlete experience and continue the positive momentum around FPC football. Everything you're talking about just now, does that kind of show that full athlete experience during his high school career?
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage the kids to do as much as they can. You only get to go to high school once, and if you don't do something, you're gonna turn around later in life and say, "Man, I wish I would have done that." So experience high school to the fullest. Do as much as you can. And selfishly, from a head coach's standpoint, I want those guys to be involved. The one thing that I expect is to play another sport, do something. I like multi-sport athletes, whether it be basketball, run track, weightlifting. Play baseball, doesn't matter to me. Just do something. And yeah, get that All American high school experience and do the best you can.
And coach, you're going to find that you're going to have that in spades at FPC. I'm sure, and I know Palaca is the same way, where the athletes are heavily involved. And you mentioned your staff, and Coach DeVos is basically a family member. And then I've gotten to know some of your other coaches, like Coach Jefferson, Coach Babineau, Coach Potak, of course. Have you had a chance to start evaluating your staff? You're inheriting some great assistants, as you talked about with the Robinson brothers. There's so many others as well. Have you had a chance to really review your staff and figure out how you're going to put the pieces in place there?
Yeah, not as much as I would like. We just got cleared yesterday, so I have been reaching out to those guys via text. We have a meet and greet for the players and parents next Monday, and after that, I'll kind of set a night a week or during the day, Sunday afternoon or something, where we can meet as a staff and kind of start grinding on what it's going to look like, so they can get to know me, I can get to know them, and everybody get on the same page. So to answer your question, not as much as I would like yet, but that's all going to take place. I'd like to say we got plenty of time, but we don't. We're 1 month away from spring football, so we do have work to do, and everybody's got to get on the same page. But I feel certain that we can get there. And when you got a group of guys that are passionate about what they do, and everybody has that same goal in mind, which is to be successful and to win, it's all going to come together. So we'll get there.
When you look at a Patrick Turner led football team, what would you say the identity of that football team will be?
Well, I've been, obviously you have good players and you turn players into good players, to great players. But man, I've been blessed to just have teams that just played with passion. I've never had to worry about a team step on the field on any given night and they just didn't have it. And whether that's created for me or the staff or how we practice or whatever, but when Friday night comes, we kick off, our kids are ready to play. So you can guarantee our kids they're gonna fly around, they're gonna strike people on defense, we're gonna score points on offense, and it's just gonna be a fun style. And people are gonna fall in love with it. Players are gonna fall in love with it. And we've been in top five offenses, throughout my career. We've had some of the best rushers, dual sport, or excuse me, dual threat quarterbacks that have made all state or this or that, gone for 1,000 and 1,000. We've had some really good guys come through. What we do, and we try to maximize the players that we have. So it's going to be fun no matter what we do. And I think the kids, the coaches, and everybody involved, and the community, they're really going to love Bulldog football.
And I can speak to that from experience. That it is going to be a high tempo, high powered. It's going to be a physical offense, but it's going to be high tempo, high powered. I got to call a couple of those games against Clay where you guys were just lighting up the scoreboard. I think there was one game where I think Kenny and Ty both ran for 250. There was a game against Matanzas where Ty almost ran for 300. So we're looking forward to that physical brand of football that you're going to bring to Flagler County.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Coach, you're coming into the season off of what is one of the more, Mike mentioned it, we've been broadcasting FPC football for over a decade on the radio station, for a couple of years now with the video on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. The program itself is coming off of one of the more high-profile seasons we can remember. They were 9-2 during the regular season, made the playoffs, lost that game, a home playoff game against Spruce Creek, in very controversial fashion. I'm sure you saw it, where a down was taken away from the Bulldogs. How about that? And I do know that there were a lot of seniors on that team, so there's a lot of turnover on the team right now. How about coming into this situation where, yeah, you know what, you're coming in off of a high-profile season like that?
Yeah, I actually brought that up to the kids today and talked about that, going all the way back to when I was in high school. So my brother was a senior when I was a freshman, and his senior class went 40-0 and never lost a regular season game. Pretty prolific. And I stepped in as a sophomore and started my first game at quarterback, and we lost to our rivals in the first game, 14-13. And that was the first time in 5 years that my high school had lost a regular season game, and I had that weight on my shoulders, and I had to carry that. And that's kind of what driven me throughout my life. And football has given me everything and taken me everywhere. And I've seen some really cool things, but you just got to carry that chip on your shoulder of keep working. And that 1 point loss stuck with me. In fact, 2 years ago, I could relate very well because we went down to East Side in the playoffs, and we lost by 1 point to East Side. If you remember or you read about it, we returned a kickoff with a minute something left in the game, and Tay Valentine pointed up, and they threw a flag for excessive celebration. So our point after attempt was from the 18-yard line, which was no good, and we ended up losing by 1 point. And so I brought that up today and relate to these kids that, yeah, they took it down, but you still lost by 1 point. And what are you going to do about it? Are you either, feeling sorry for yourself right now, or are you going to work 1 point harder? And every day you got to show up to work, and you got to work, and just go to work and trust the process. And eventually, whether it's this year, next year, or down the road, that 1 point is going to show up in a win. I can promise you that.
Coach, you've had a long coaching career. What would you say has been your greatest moment as a head coach?
Oh man, I'll be honest with you, man. So not this past year, year before, we actually had a tragedy this year as well. We lost, Robert. We lost RJ. I'm sure y'all heard about that. He went home. And that was devastating to our program. But the year before that, we actually lost a cheerleader named Bailey. She got struck by lightning. And you talk about it, not just a football team coming together, but a community. And it was a triumph through a tragedy. So the greatest experience I've ever had is watching 13 of my football players come to know Christ and get baptized. And everybody in the community was just touched by this young girl and her influence and how she was known for inviting people to church and the people that she impacted. She impacted my life, and that's when I say it's tough to leave that community. That's the community that I'm in Palaca, and how many people she impacted and touched. And so that was probably, I would go down and say, my greatest moment in coaching ever.
Speaking about before, you were talking about how you love student athletes playing more than one sport. It doesn't matter if it's baseball, basketball, you think it's great to get involved in other things. So obviously you love sports in general. Why football? Just you personally in your life, why did you end up dedicating your life to the game of football?
Man, I just love it. I love everything about it. Most life lessons can be taught from football. If you ask my parents, we probably bought several doctors' vehicles from broken bones and emergency visits and things like that. We were but still, those are all blessings, man. I love it. I love everything about it, even the ups, the downs, um, the losses, the wins. When you win, you kind of expect to win. When you lose, you spend more time thinking about why you didn't. And so, really, it's my drug. I love everything about it. And for me, it's a family deal. My wife is also a cheerleading coach, and so she's there. She loves it as much as I do. Our kids have been on the sideline since they were born. My girls have helped me paint lines on a field, so they know. One of them's a cheerleader, and we just love Friday nights. We live for Friday night and the experience, and we can't wait for the experience as Bulldogs.
You said eighth grade for your daughter, and I can't believe that. I mean, I remember her on the sidelines at Pedro at Gamble Rogers games way back in the day. Shout out Stingray Nation. Man, it's been a long time, hasn't it, Coach?
Yeah, it flies by, in a blink, and here they are. And one's coming into high school, so she's going to be a Bulldog. The other one will be in middle school, and she's looking forward to it. But yeah, time flies. But football it is what it is, and that's our family, and we love everything about it. So we're excited about our opportunity at Flagler Palm Coast, and implore that passion on the sideline for the Bulldogs.
Coach, as you build this roster now for the upcoming season, what would you say are the key characteristics you look for in a player?
Oh, I mean, that's easy. Kids that work hard and are great teammates. Talent comes, talent goes. But there were years there at Menendez where maybe we didn't have D1 talent, or we didn't have guys that came out and signed, but we had a really great group of kids that played extremely hard together. Same thing at Palaca. But even now, you say Division 1, that word is kind of tainted, man, because of the portal and kids that will go to a lower level, and the opportunity that a Division 1 school can go pluck them either from a Division 2 school or JUCO school. So it's even harder to go, Division 1. But when you got a group of kids that work just extremely hard and trust the process and love each other, special things happen. And we've had some special moments throughout the years, both at Palaca and at Pedro, with a great group of kids and coaches. And like I said, when everybody is rowing the boat in the same direction, fun things happen. And I'm just really excited. I think the same thing's going to happen. I know the same thing's going to happen at FPC. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today, Coach. We're looking forward to seeing you at FPC when things get settled in, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Look forward to more.
Hey, Coach Turner, thank you so much. There he is, Coach Patrick Turner, the new head football coach of the FPC Bulldogs and now Flagler County. You know him a little better. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach.
Y'all have a great day.
You too. Take it easy. There he is.
Thanks, Patrick.
Coach Turner on the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Mike, what do you think? Are you pumped up?
Absolutely. Like I said, I've known Coach Turner a long, long time, going back to his days at Menendez. Like he was talking about, Coach DeVos married into my family. So I've known Coach DeVos for a long time. I've got so many friends from his former staff. So, I've known Patrick a long time.
I'm not shocked about that, Mike. I'm not shocked.
I know you're not shocked, but especially Menendez. I mean, I knew everybody in the building at Menendez. You
Right.
live somewhere 32 years, you're going to know a person or two. That's just the way it is. But, I stand by what I said last week, that I think that Coach Turner is going to be the shot in the arm that FPC needs after. They don't need it. I mean, it's not like they're coming off a bad season, but I just think that with all the turmoil that went on these last couple months, Patrick's going to bring a steadying presence to FPC. And, he's not somebody who's going to, cut loose right away. I mean, he was at Menendez for 5 years as the football coach, another, I believe, 4 as the athletic director. He was at Palaca for 4 years. So he's somebody who he plants his roots. And I think that's something that FPC needs. Circumstances haven't allowed certain coaches to necessarily plant roots like that, and other coaches have left for looking for greener pastures. But I think this is somebody who's going to be in the Flagler County football community for a while.
And I think that was a great point that you made on the Rich and Mike Sports Show last weekend. By the way, you can listen to that on SoundCloud, but go check out the Rich and Mike Sports Show, where you talk about the fact that, yeah, you know what, this program, this FPC Bulldog program, has had is 4 coaches in the last 6 years. So there's not a lot of, I guess, stability with that. It's always something new, and you'd like to see the consistency of, hey, 3 straight years in the playoffs. That's pretty good. And maybe a win somewhere in there. So it's exciting to see the possibility of someone sticking around to grow with the program. We've seen some good coaches come through here over the years. They just haven't stuck around for very long. So you hope that in this case, Coach Turner can be someone that's here for years to come, and we'll be able to experience that success with him and the growth of the program. Because let's face it, he's going to get a chance to really put his stamp on this program immediately, because there were a lot of seniors on this team. This is going to be a new FPC Bulldog team coming up this year with a new identity. And that's, they're coming off a big successful season last year, 9-2, home playoff game, the whole thing. But you can still have success this year, and hopefully it could be the start of something special that'll last longer than just 1 year.
And let's not get it twisted. It's 3 coaches in the last 5 years. Each one of those coaches had at least 1 playoff appearance. Travis Rowland had 4. Robert Paxia made the playoffs in one of his seasons, and of course we had the magical run with Daniel Fish. So there's a lot of success to be had at this program, but it's just for me, it's more about sustainability, and whether coaches have chosen to go elsewhere or just things haven't worked out. That's one thing. But I think, I'm looking to see sustainability. I'm in year 16. This is going to be my 16th year here. I'm looking forward to Coach Turner and the success he's going to have when we're going into year 20.
Yeah, that would be something definitely. And hopefully Coach Turner can bring a lot of his experience. We went over it during the interview. He was an athletic director, a head football coach. He comes here to FPC with that experience and a team ready and eager to win. And as you mentioned too, there's a lot of support for this program in the community, in Football County. So we're looking forward to some success there. As you know, as I mentioned, you can see all of FPC games from last year on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. And obviously coming up this year as well, when Coach Turner's team takes the field for the first time. And I should mention real quick at the end of this, we've got baseball coming up this week, right, Mike?
Yes, we got Deltona at FPC on Friday night. Looking forward to it. Our first look at the Bulldogs this year. We've gotten to see Matanzas once, and now we'll get to see FPC. And then next week, it is next week, right? All the days run together. We'll have both of them. So you got a taste of Matanzas. This week you'll get a taste of FPC. Next week you'll get a taste of them both.
Yeah, we have next week we have Matanzas FPC Crosstown Showdown in Flagler County for bragging rights in baseball. Coming up next week, FPC Matanzas. And then the week after that, it is going to be softball, Matanzas versus FPC. So a couple of crosstown showdowns coming up on the WNZF Sports Network, Flagler Radio YouTube channel. Make sure to tune in, check out the games. Please subscribe to the Flagler Radio YouTube channel. We're trying to grow that channel and show the power of local sports here in our Flagler County community. Mike Licio, any final words of wisdom from you?
Well, I'm about to go change and go head out to see Matanzas softball take on the alma mater tonight. So, the sports roll on, and it's an exciting time of year. Spring sports season always is. Glad to see that we now know who's going to be in FPC, as a head coach, and we've gotten to know him a little bit. So I think things are the excitement just continues to build.
All right. Thank you again to Coach Patrick Turner, the new head football coach over at FPC. Thank you for joining us today, and good luck. That's another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Have a great day, Flagler County.